Hey, AfterBuzz TV fans, tune in right now. We're talking about Season 4, Episode 4 of How to Get Away with Murder. Was she ever good at her job? Question mark. She was.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now.
Hey, AfterBuzz TV fans, tune in now. We're talking about Season 4, Episode 4 of How to Get Away with Murder. Was she ever good at her job?
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey y'all!
What's up? We are gonna have a great show for you guys. We got the chat up. We are 2 men down, 2 women down, I guess, as the case may be, or is.
I started thinking about Rihanna. She has a song called Man Down. Okay, I'm drawing a blank.
Well, yeah. In any event, April and Sterling are out tonight, as you can see, or will hear, but hopefully they'll be back next week. Till then, Elayna and I have you covered, because we got the chat up, and we're awesome, and the show is awesome. This episode is specifically
crazy,
intense. We got a lot of answers, still even more questions,
unfortunately.
But we're going to break it down. Real quick, Elayna, where can the people find you?
Hey guys, you can follow me on all social platforms at hey_it's_lay, and that's hey with an A. I know that a lot of people have trouble with that.
Well, yeah, it's not, well, I mean, it's one way to spell hey.
I mean, because like hay's for horses,
yeah,
lay, L-A-Y. I know you're like, okay, anyway.
Fair enough. I thank you for the clarification, though. Totally. I'm JB. You guys can follow me at Hey John Blake. But let's talk about this episode. Pretty crazy. Was she ever good at her job? I think clearly, yeah, is my answer.
She's great at her job. If she doesn't do anything else right, and she meaning Annalise,
right? Well, I'm pretty sure that's who she is referring to.
It could have.
I mean, there's a lot of she's. There's this very like pro women power episode.
Girl power.
Oh yeah,
the music stopped.
It's
the music stopped.
Oh,
hey, come on for the girl power light.
Good stuff. Just girl power. Ooh. But yeah, shame that April and Sterling were here to bask in all this woman.
It's okay.
awesomeness.
We'll have another girl power moment.
There's a lot.
Week.
There's a lot to go around. So
yeah.
There's.
Annalise is bomb at her job, and I love how they tried to set up this episode as if she was falling apart and she was this grandma, but in fact, she's at the top of her game, baby.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, obviously, this seems to be the biggest case that she's ever taken on. Keating versus the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is kind of a huge thing. It's a class action suit. Even, I mean, throughout her talks with Dr. Isaac, like he even, records his thing in his notes that like she's burying herself in work, like literally to distract her from everything else that's going on, which seems to be working. At the same time, it's not without its, externalities or kind of ill effects that will happen afterwards.
You know what I thought was really cool? So in the beginning, when they were introducing, when she was basically saying that she's going to be taking on this civil lawsuit, I love that some of the students were in class and the professor was teaching about what a class action lawsuit was at the same time. So it was like we were kind of getting it hand in hand. It was like, oh, she about to be in the history books. Like literally.
Yeah. And Keating. Asher, of course, has the wrong answer.
Always.
Classic Asher right
Poor
there.
Poor baby. But he has a nice butt, so.
Apparently. So
how did you guys feel about that? I mean, women in the chat room, obviously. Some in too, if you're into that kind of thing. How did you feel about Asher's butt? I've never really looked at it until this episode. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think they really showcased it until this episode.
It was nice.
Obviously, Laurel is getting her claws out everywhere.
She is a horny mama.
She's definitely feeling the hormones and being pregnant. Apparently that's the thing.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
What?
But since we're talking about
Let's
Laurel
talk about
and her hormones, can we talk about that awkward scene with Frank in the car?
Yeah, we can definitely. I mean, she pretty much raped Frank. Not that Frank wouldn't be down because he clearly was.
Kinda.
But still, I mean, he was not like yeah. Let's do this.
I mean, he didn't say no. Stop. And he didn't kind of like put. It wasn't. It was like a. I didn't mean that.
Right.
But if you want to do that, then fine. But it was still kind of like awkward.
Well, I mean. Not without a reason. I mean, as a guy, I feel like it would be weird. I've never been propositioned or like borderline raped by a pregnant woman, but I feel like in that situation, I don't know if I would go through with it.
Do you say no to a pregnant woman?
I don't know. I mean, she definitely takes matters into her own hands and kind of is definitely driving the vehicle of the encounter.
How do you guys feel about that scene with Laurel and Frank and the whole sex thing? Someone says that they were pissed about it, but I don't know if they're talking about the same thing that I'm talking about or if your mind is just somewhere else. Anyway, it was pretty intense, but I guess it's the truth of, having hormones, being pregnant. Sometimes you just get horny. She's off of her antidepressants, which is really awesome. And she's channeling her energy somewhere.
Definitely.
Someone said,
and it was kind of going everywhere when people are hitting on Asher / like checking him out like in public. I feel like it's like okay.
Kind of. I love how Michaela was like Michaela was like, no, sweetie, don't even calm down.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I feel like their past though, Frank and Laurel's past, kind of makes up for a lot of it because. I think it'd be different if she just like came on to someone new. They'd be like, "Whoa, like who is this? Who's inside of you?" Mm-hmm. It's kind of a weird thing.
I feel like if I was a guy, though, I would be afraid because
it's weird. It's definitely weird to be a guy.
Okay, and, we got it.
Totally. Confirmed. Weird. But he still went through with it. It's Frank. Let's be real. He's done worse things.
He loves her.
And yeah, they used to date sort of. So I mean, I think. That kind of overwhelmed the weirdness in the moment. Let it be known that if you guys saw the coming up on for next episode, it definitely looked like they were still hooking up. So whether that's like editing.
Was that his face?
Yeah, and he was like, he even said, sorry, we're jumping way ahead, but he even says in the preview at least that he's like, "Are you sure it's not my baby?" Ha. But we'll talk about that later. Anyway. Back to this episode.
Oh, yeah. Focus.
Laurel is still kind of, while we're on her, we might as well finish. She's still kind of pushing Michaela to kind of do all this stuff. There seems to be some Denver, like, snooping as well. I mean, she's trying to get Denver nailed because she thinks there's a connection with her dad paying Denver to cover up this murder of Wes and, like, that whole conspiracy. Little does she know she's not being so sneaky enough that he can't see that she's doing something.
Yeah. You know what I appreciate about this, I guess, whatever Laurel is consumed with right now, taking down her dad in Denver at this point, is usually when she gets this hyped about a case or about some kind of conspiracy, she doesn't really ever have like hard facts or whatever the case may be. For this instant, though, she is piecing together a lot of things that make sense.
Right.
Like the guy who mysteriously died and all of a sudden is a donor to Denver. Like, that is a big deal to me. And the fact that that same name is the name that worked for her father. Like, so her putting these things together, and even in the way that she's maneuvering with it, I'm Team Laurel on it. Like, I do want them to come down. I do want her to get to the bottom of it. But obviously, it's going to end in a mess.
I agree. I think she's definitely on the most just side. Right. I mean, it's very shades of gray in this show, but I agree with you. I'm Team Laurel in terms of taking down her dad and probably Denver. It seems to be the more corrupt on their end. You know, especially if he is getting paid, which I almost guarantee, or in my mind, I've like convinced myself that that's the case, even because he is so comfortable with the fact that Bonnie blackmailed him for the job. He was so casual about it when like, she was like in his office. He's like, "Oh, you're blackmailing me?
He's creepy.
Again? Get in line."
He's creepy. Did you see the way that he was staring at Laura when she was at the printer?
Someone in the chat, Juliana said, "I'm so tired of Denver working." So
yeah,
totally
he looks like a killer.
What what a creepy dude, just
Oh
like
my
standing in the
goodness.
background.
He
He's just like,
actually-
yes, excellent.
He hasn't really done anything except for set up kind of Wes's death, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, he was so gung-ho about Annalise before. It's interesting. I feel like he's maybe the missing link between, like, her dad, like, the Castillos and, like, maybe Wes.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Who are the Castillos? Laurel?
Yeah, Laurel's
yeah.
family. And maybe that's, like, why they went after... Because right now I'm trying to think why Laurel's family would really have anything against
probably
Wes.
Laurel's
like,
uncle. Denver's probably his Laurel uncle. Okay,
really? You think?
No, I don't
That's,
think that.
yeah, I feel like she would know if they're... I mean, not that they can't be related at all. I feel like uncle, she would be like, dude, I've seen you in a barbecue before. What?
Maxie says if anyone dies, she think it might be Denver. I would totally be okay with
Yeah,
that.
I'm pro him getting killed.
We sound really bad.
Sorry, yeah.
No, but I would be
this show has
absolutely
changed me.
okay with the Denver going. Bye. That would be amazing, actually.
That would be. I mean, he's really doing nothing other than, like... Lurking and coming in and being upset, just, like, huffing and puffing,
We don't need him.
Well, yeah, he was, you know, very pissed off that Laurel was working for the firm.
Right.
And when he, you know, wanted to fire her, he realized he couldn't because Bonnie very astutely brought up that she's pregnant, and that would be a disaster.
Speaking of pregnant, it was really hard to watch Frank bring that suitcase of money to Annalise's apartment.
Yeah, that was not low key at all.
And then the scenes flashed through the accident and everything that happened, and I remember jumping as if I've never seen it before, when clearly I've seen it, you know, at this point several times throughout the show history, but it still is very, it was hard. And for him to have the audacity, what's the word? Audacity? There it is. For him to even think that it was okay, like, I'm so desperate for money that I'm going to take the money that you got paid to kill my baby.
Okay, I hear you. But also say for a second that Hargrove, President Hargrove, and we'll talk about her in a second, if she wasn't in this, like, crazy lawsuit case and couldn't bring... Like, there's a million different ways that could have gone where Laura or Annalise didn't get hired and would really be in a pinch for money. So, like, in that sense, he could have been a knight in shining armor somewhat. Obviously, we know that baby that suitcase full of money is blood money for Annalise's baby, which is, like, the worst.
I don't think so, because her baby dying is the start of all of this, really. It is like
it's pretty close.
Her taking on the case for Wes's mom and etc. It's how we got into this whirlwind of what is Annalise Keating's life. And even if she would have lost this case with Hargrove and she had no money, I still think that the positive kick she's on right now wouldn't even have allowed her to use that money.
You think this is it's a positive
kick?
kick?
Yeah, she's on a positive kick. She wants to do good. She's trying to stay away from the bad.
Fair enough.
I mean, she's trying. Don't you guys think she's trying? She's trying.
Yeah, she is trying. I mean, she is going to therapy, and I think she's begun to accept that as like a thing that's a part of her, and that it is helping, even though she does fight it in some ways. And not to say that, you know, that's a wrong way to do. I mean, not that there is a right way, but I think that initially she was very much just going through the motions of, like, this is not going to help, and kind of denial of the whole process.
Right.
But now I think, you know, she is realizing that Dr. Isaac, like, does have some good points, and he is, I mean, just getting her to talk about certain things, it is helping.
And guys, if you've been with us from the beginning of this season 4, I know that I've been the one who's kind of like, I don't like Dr. Isaac. He gave me creepy vibes. But this episode, I kind of warmed up to him. Being able to hear his notes and to hear his actual theories and not just him combating her. I'm like, okay, maybe he is really, you know, there to help. I don't know. But as of today, episode 4, I'm okay with him.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right as of right now. Until him and... Julie
/ Bonnie.
She's such a witch. I still don't like her.
Yeah, which is weird because it's like, how does I mean, maybe they just don't check IDs really when you sign up for therapy, but
I guess if it's substance abuse.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you would think that because he has access too much legally with forms and stuff, that they like.
But Annalise was court ordered to him. Julie may have volunteered.
No. David Baldwin not convinced about Dr. Isaac.
Still
clearly.
No? Not even a little bit after today? Oh my goodness. Unicorn, you have to go. Unicorn Con is that. I actually like Bonnie.
Whoa. I don't know. I had mixed feelings. I feel like it's really weird to find her motivations. Or it's hard to because
I agree.
Had loved Annalise for so long. You can't just wash that away. Obviously, she's very mad at her, and she had her heart kind of broken by her and, her ex-husband, Sam. Like, she's been very... I mean, she came from a very troubled past. Fast forward to today, like, not much has changed in that regard. So, I think she is a tough person to, like, get through to and get, like...
It's really hard to read her emotions.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It is.
Very eloquently put. That's what I was trying to say.
It is. But... It's okay. It's hard to read her emotions, but sometimes they still aren't driven by the right things.
Right.
Like, she's just this child to me.
Totally. And, she might be right on what Annalise is trying to do. She seems to figure out that Annalise is trying to do all these things to basically become Denver's replacement, which would be cool if she was kind of the public defender. That would be a very interesting season of How to Get Away with Murder. But, to kind of see through the lines takes a very smart person.
Yeah, I mean, she's worked under Annalise for a while, so she kind of knows how she maneuvers,
Mm-hmm. And for her to be doing all this diligence work, like going to see Dr. Isaac on, with a fake name, digging for all this information, like she's very hot on her trail. But that's because we're huge Annalise fans. Like this show is all about her. It's easy to see her as an enemy because she could ruin everything.
Right.
Which would be the worst.
Or kind of fun for us to watch.
True, very fun, but then I would root for her to, her demise in some horrible way.
I agree. Maybe Bonnie is subconsciously helping Annalise, as Fina just said.
Yeah.
She could be.
And, as David Baldwin said, she is a stone cold person. Could not be more on the nose.
She's like
because
Dexter.
She murdered Rebecca.
Oh, she
did. In the basement. Let's not forget about that.
And
She's a murderer.
She had us all food that it wasn't even her. Bonnie reminds me a lot of Dexter, kind of like the way you ever watch Dexter on Netflix? Anyway, it's super
good show. Good show.
Right? But Bonnie reminds me of like this serial killer.
Right.
Like,
well, there's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of shared cast members. I mean, Jimmy Smits was on Dexter.
Isaac!
President Hargrove was on there for a while.
She was.
Like a long time. She was
the lead.
She was Lieutenant LaGuardia.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. Full circle.
Oh, that's pretty awesome that they get to work on the show together again.
Yeah, they didn't have any scenes together, unfortunately.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But I mean, we'll see.
Why didn't I put that together? I feel a little not a Dexter fan.
Yeah. You just gotta rewatch that show.
Oh wow.
But yeah, anyway, it was great to have the Dexter alums in this episode and just back in general. Very cool stuff. A lot of similarities, a lot of killing, dark theme.
They like this
stuff. Yeah.
So, okay, we're talking about Dr. Isaac.
Yeah.
And I saw someone bring it up in the chat room, and I'm just really eager to get to it because I have questions about it. So, Dr. Isaac is talking to his recorder about Annalise. And then he starts giving us his own confessional. And I had to, like...
Yeah.
I got, really confused.
This trigger, guys in the chat definitely chime in. What do you think that trigger was? Because he's having a moment. Like he was really like breaking down and being like, "Whoa, she's a trigger for me." And the only thing that came to mind, at least given what we've seen, is that he admitted that he was a drug user.
Right.
And that was like the first moment where like the power shifted in the room, and she was like, "I wish you had never told me that because now I know that like you're weak, basically." And so that was huge, and that's what I think of when when he says trigger, or like that he's got to be mindful,
right?
Seeing Annalise, because it's a delicate thing for him. But we have nothing.
She could remind him. She could remind him a lot of himself, but when he was talking about it, he was talking about Wes and what Wes was to Annalise. And then he started talking about Annalise. So do you remember when he was talking about suicide and he was like, I know what the grief feels like. I wonder if he lost someone due to suicide, even though that was a made up story that Annalise gave the board.
Right.
And he started, because I felt like he started sympathizing and showing empathy when he read that statement. And then when she started talking about trigger, I feel like there is some kind of connection, whether with Wes and Isaac, or what if Isaac was the person that Wes called?
Maybe. I mean, do you think that Wes was seeing a therapist and seeing Dr. Isaac? He could.
No, they kind of look alike. They kind of got the same complexion.
Well, yeah, I mean, someone in the chat, David Wallman, says that Dr. Isaac could be Wes's dad, which is a crazy theory.
No.
I don't necessarily think that, but I feel like maybe there would be a connection if Dr. Isaac lost a child. Like, maybe that's why he went into drugs.
Me and Rob are on the same page. The one unanswered question, the night Wes died, who was he talking to in the taxi? It was Dr. Isaac, y'all.
I don't think Dr. Isaac, as a high-paying therapist, would need to moonlight as a cab driver.
It was Dr. Quote me.
He just Ubers on the side. Not a big deal. I mean, maybe. I mean, they could have had some overlap. I think if there was, then he would have reacted a little bit more saying Wes's name. Because when he, like, basically brought this up to Annalise, and it was a huge thing for her, kind of, she was in such a great mood, and then he was like, well, let's change that.
Yeah, he just didn't care.
He gave 0 Fs about it. But, when he said that, he brought it up, he read the transcript, I think if he knew Wes personally, or, like, even had met him, he would have had, like, a more emotional reaction to it.
Client privilege.
Yeah, I mean, he's trained at keeping his emotions at bay, so maybe not, but I don't know. I feel like maybe, his connection could be as simple as having lost a child.
I agree.
Well.
It could be, but the way that this show is set up, we can't think simplistic.
True.
Like, anything that we think is just
black
I
go
and white,
0 to 60 with, like everything.
All the colors in the rainbow.
Pick up a paperclip, and they're like, oh my God, he's the killer.
Right. You can't trust it. I can't trust the producers of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a moment.
Crazy.
I can't trust anybody. So I'm very eager to figure out what that trigger was. So coming out of this episode, I was a little disappointed because I don't know if you guys were on Twitter, and I was just really excited about tonight because I just felt like I was going to get some kind of answer.
Right.
And I don't feel like I got that. I feel like my mind is still all over the place, even worse than last week.
Right. Well, yeah, there's so many big, like, season-wide questions that are, like, percolating in my mind. Well, I mean, who's in the elevator?
Right.
Who's, like, blood is everywhere? Like, what the hell is going on? But at the same time, like, as the procedural elements of this show, this episode, I really liked. I mean, the whole case with President Hargrove, it was great to have her. That's the segue right now. I mean, let's talk about that. It was great to have her back. We haven't seen her all season, so it's cool to kind of get that refresher. Obviously, Annalise has been going through, like, her own sort of AA stuff with therapy, and it was great to kind of have them have these moments. Plus, this whole Michaela, Tegan, Annalise, like, blended family.
It was pretty fire.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, so interesting to watch. I was like, what the hell is going to happen when it started off? I was like, dude, what is going on?
It was really great to watch Annalise in the room with Tegan, who's also, both of them are powerhouses. And then Michaela, who I feel like is a powerhouse up and coming. She's not there yet, but she definitely will be. But she's an Annalise Jr.
She is.
So watching her operate as Annalise Jr. with Annalise in the room was just hilarious to me, because Annalise was looking at you, like, was not looking at you, but looking at Michaela like, you only know this because of me.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So I thought that I was really living for those scenes. Those scenes gave me my whole life.
Totally. And because she was being judged by both of them, and Michaela was being judged by both Tegan and Annalise, like, anything that she did in front of them. Plus, she had to, like, her mind was even in another pretzel, knowing that she had to play things one way with Tegan and another way with Annalise, and like keep this balance, like while also trying to do this stuff for Laurel. It's like she's like spinning 8 different plates.
But I was talking to you before we started the show about how she annoyed me because Michaela was all over the place. Yes, her head was spinning, and
I mean she handled it like a boss.
She handled it great, but I wish she would have stuck with her new life. Like like Annalise fired you or whatever she did. She got rid of you from her life, right? And you guys are starting over. But she would confront Annalise and almost come at her hardcore, like this is what it is, like stay back, whatever. And then she would kind of try to be sweet about it. Right. And it was like, okay, here's the email address, or you know, whatever the case may be. And it was like, girl, you either gonna be yelling at me or we gonna be cool. But you gotta pick one. Right. You're not gonna be upset at me and then wanna be a puppy at the same time. It's not gonna work.
Well, I mean that's what is interesting about how they played this episode. When they were all in the same room, like the first deposition, it was really like Annalise calls Michaela out on this in the end, but for Michaela, like watching these two masters, I guess, at their craft work, it was crazy. Like they were both kind of excelling at different times. Like in the first deposition, Annalise crushed it. Like I think Michaela went into that meeting like thinking, I'm pro Tegan all the way, and then like Annalise like comes out of nowhere and just like bulldozes the meeting and like does very well for the team. Right. And so, you know, I think she kind of warmed up, and it was like this constant power play between Tegan and Annalise.
Tegan was getting a little frustrated because Annalise kept overpowering her.
And, you know, rightly so, because she had, you know, the right answers, the right responses, and those things definitely threw the other team off, which was great. A great win for them. Obviously, it was kind of power struggle initially, and because Annalise came out of the gates, like, right away, I think Tegan was kind of, like, rattled by that. Yeah. And then, you know, cut to Annalise, like, dropping the ball a little bit by emailing the wrong person. And, you know, all hell breaks loose with President Hargrove almost losing her job. She, you know, almost lost the case. She almost lost everything. Yeah. And so that, I think, kind of gave Michaela, like, more, you know, gravitas with pushing Annalise away, being like, hey, you know, like, we're done. I'm over you.
Two things that I really loved about this whole Michaela, Annalise, Tegan thing. One, when Annalise says, watch me, you definitely need to watch her because she's going to come out on top. Like, so when she went in with President Hargrove and she was like, look, I can get whatever you're going to pay down, she got it down to $5 million. Right. Like, Annalise literally did all of that herself. But the other thing that I really loved was that Tegan, although there are two powerhouses, it wasn't like a fight kind of thing. Right. It wasn't a clash. Tegan gave Annalise props when she needed it, when she deserved it. It wasn't like, oh, you're trash. Oh, it could only be one of us. She even said, I'll talk to the higher ups if you want to come. So I love the camaraderie that happened.
I mean, it definitely turned. They have a great mutual professional respect for each other. Right. And, you know, I think initially it was kind of rocky because it was like, okay, who's going to lead the ship? Like, it's kind of like a tug of war almost. And, you know, they both kind of want to drive things the way that they want to do. But I think through that process, they really found a rhythm. And once they did, they really started to kick ass. And they won the case. Like, they figured it out. They had, I mean, Michaela, like, kind of delegated the chain of screaming and, like, yelled at all these interns, which was a great scene. Right. To kind of light the fire under them, which it did. And then she was able to find, you know, a piece of evidence from these therapist transcripts, which, again, she kind of took up to the next level, and Annalise and Tegan were through their own experiences, were able to piece that together into, like, what actually happened.
Even that moment when Annalise nodded at Michaela for, like, having the right answer or for saying the right things. Right. Those moments were what made it for me. And then, obviously, Michaela leading the interns. Like, she just got there, and she's already the boss of all the interns. Yeah. Because she won the She did. Yeah, the Hell Bowl. The Hell Bowl, because she won the Hell Bowl. But still, so to see her in that role was really awesome. But I'm concerned because we know that Michaela's on a whole nother agenda when it comes to her and Laurel working together. And Tegan being who she is, I don't really know how far Michaela's going to get with Tegan, which is why I feel like we end in this bloody mess.
True. And, I think Tegan's a little bit more ruthless than Annalise.
Yeah.
With other people. Annalise is always, even though she's like,
hardcore,
she can cut people down, like, in a second, and definitely throws people on the bus as well. I think Annalise it comes from a place of working with people. She had, before we even met the K5, she had Bonnie and Frank. It was kind of like bringing them up. Mm-hmm. Then she, builds this own internship thing.
Right.
And was so motherly and protecting of them. Tegan works at a big firm, so it's really, she's got to kind of be a shark and kind of look out for her own self first and foremost and not really bring people in as much. That being said, like boss recognized boss, she was like, Annalise, like, I know if you need something, I can talk to people.
But which is why Annalise hit it on the head in her second confrontation with Michaela at the elevator about Michaela always looking for a mom.
Right.
Because
she dropped a bomb on Michaela.
But it was so true.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, it was good. It left us there like, did she really just like, say that?
And she like couldn't speak. She was like trying to like formulate a response.
Because it was true. Because she had to think about it.
Yeah.
And the reason she got that from Annalise is because Annalise lost her baby, and Annalise is mothering to them, which is why they're so baby. But Tegan's not like that. So it's going to be really hard. Like, Tegan's more sisterly, I feel, than motherly.
Right. Like,
she's more like, I'm going to look out for you. I got your back.
She's like a cool aunt.
Yeah, I'm trying to make you me, kind of, but I'm not going to, baby you all the way.
Totally. Yeah, and let us not forget that she's a very smart person too. Like she was, the only one that won the Hell Bowl as well, and she's
passed the bar at 22.
Yeah, she's, a prodigy in her own right almost. So, I think a lot of people in the chat are bringing this up where, she could also be seeing through Michaela. Like Michaela has so many things going on. She does a good job of it, but is she hiding it completely? Is she like covering her tracks completely? So she's trying to do so many things.
The people in the chat are bringing up an idea that I thought about last week, but I'm hoping is not true, about Tegan working for Laurel's dad. Okay. Because she has the Antares case.
Right.
And, he keeps it really tight and kind of, whatever. If he's going to have an attorney over his stuff, it's not going to just be anybody. It's not going to be someone who doesn't know.
Right.
So if Tegan is in fact working for the dad, this is gonna, obviously it's gonna blow up in their faces because we see the blood and stuff, but it's gonna be so disastrous that my heart can't take it.
I would love that though.
I would hate that.
Really? I'm not like, I'm rooting for it as a fan to just watch it unfold. Yeah. I don't like, story-wise, the reason why I won't like it is because they're not gonna get nowhere.
Right. Like, they're going to think that they're getting somewhere, and Tegan's always going to be shutting the door. Like, every door Michaela's opens, Tegan's going to be shutting it. Yeah. And she probably only befriended Michaela in the way that she did so that Michaela would pick her, so that they would have closer grips on her. Mm-hmm. They probably only hired her because they knew that hiring Michaela would get an inside scoop on what Laurel's up to or what Laurel is lying about.
Whoa, you think it goes that deep?
It could. If Tegan's in on it, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if she knows everything. I feel like, and a lot of people bring this up, and I feel like now it kind of would be weird if she wasn't in on it somehow. Or, like, wasn't paid by the dad, involved in that way. Like, even if she doesn't know anything about, like, the gangster stuff that he does. I think that she's got to know something or be involved somehow being on the case. Just like the nature of that. If she's like the go-to lawyer for the case, then she's at least met with him or like, knows something. She's a smart person. It's not like she just takes cases and doesn't do research.
Right. David, I thought that too. So at the end of the episode, when they showed us that Oliver was the witness, I thought that it was going to be Tegan. And when it was Oliver's face and not Tegan's face, I wondered if it was her blood that was around the firm too.
Right.
Like, I wondered if somehow she's going to die, which would suck. Because damn, one season, a few episodes, Come on, give a Miravan some more.
Totally. I mean, for a minute, I forgot. I was like, how the hell is Oliver even there? And then I realized that Michaela calls him up and, asks for this, his hacking skills.
But this blow up happens a month and a half later.
Right.
So at what point did he get hired for the firm? Like it's so many questions, so many things that could have happened. Because he went off into his own business now. So is he consulting for the firm? Did he actually get a job for the firm? Like, do they even know that Michaela and him were in it together? Who is he the one that Michaela thought was dead?
Well, so again, let's rewind really quick to the the last part of the last episode.
Yeah.
We see Michaela and she's like in the worst shape we've ever seen.
Right.
So I wonder, because they were at her office, what that link is. We know that Oliver's there. We know that Michaela's like super distraught. Why would Oliver be so upset? Like, thoughts of people like Connor or Asher or I don't know who else it could be, and like why that type of blood would be in the office. It is a different elevator, though. The one that Bonnie was riding up to get into the office was different than the one that we saw.
Right.
That had the blood on it.
Since we're talking about Oliver, after this episode, I just want to know, would you guys be mad if Oliver died? Clearly he doesn't, but if he did, would that upset you? I wouldn't be mad at that either.
Right.
Like, I know I said I wouldn't be mad if Denver died, but I wouldn't be mad if Oliver died, only because I like him, he's sweet, but there's a disconnect now when it comes to the family, and Connor's dad kind of brought that up.
Yeah, let's talk about this whole onion. Connor and his dad, this relationship was insane. Like, we heard Connor's side of it. He was like, he's the worst dad. He calls him by his first name, Jeff. Like, he doesn't even call him dad. He tells a story about how he walked out on his mom and kind of broke their family. So he's got a lot of resentment. And then when we hear the dad's side of the story, that like Connor's basically been a catalyst for his coming out. Like, he was inspired by his son being so comfortable with who he is, and like so outspoken and unwilling to really like hide behind anything, which is so cool. I mean, it's a great trait to have. So much so, like, this is that idolize it so much that he does the same thing the next week, like a week later, probably too soon.
Very insensitive.
Yeah, definitely insensitive to both his son and his wife, but he was very kind of inspired by the whole thing. That being said, he kind of idolizes his son throughout his whole life, it seems like, because when they have the talk in the park, he kind of explains that he's not all on board with this relationship with Oliver because he's seen who Connor was pre-Oliver as this, like, unquestioned dude who kind of goes through life his own way and writes his own path and is all about himself. Turn a completely new leaf and be this, like, stable, like, not really, like, the opposite. Basically, he was, like, this alpha male.
We get all of that, but I don't know if you guys realize that. I really didn't realize. I saw the shift in Connor, but I didn't realize he was that different until his dad called it out, which I was very appreciative for. I was appreciative for his dad saying, like, I was feeling a little bad because obviously Connor loves Oliver, but truth is you're settling. And do we ever want to settle? Like, I get it. Oliver's a safe place, especially with all the chaos that has happened. And that's just it. But you're settling. So when his dad called that out, I didn't really realize that he was, because, Oliver's great in my mind. So I didn't really realize that he was settling for Oliver until I kind of started seeing, like, yeah, he is being boring. Yeah, he is giving up, and he's just, you know what I mean?
Right. No, and that's what I mean. I don't dislike Oliver because I think he brings a lot of good things to Connor. That being said, and plus I think Oliver's just, like, cool in general. Like, he's a really smart dude, and he, like, is the voice of reason a lot of the time. But I think how Connor is affected by Oliver, it pushes him too far, almost. It's, like, too much, where he, like, basically gives up on what seemed to be his dream. I mean, I don't think you would go through all of the schooling and stuff to get to where Connor is without wanting that to be your thing.
Sometimes you just do it.
No, I mean, like, okay, you get to undergrad,
Right,
like,
right.
you try some stuff, but, like, he went through pretty much the entire program of Annalise. Like, that takes so much dedication. I don't think that you would go that far and work that hard if it wasn't something you at least, like, wanted to do.
They brought up Oliver being positive, and if I'm being honest, I totally forgot that Oliver was even positive.
Pretty intense, yeah.
And that Connor even had to take prep. I mean, and they have sex so much, which is great because it's teaching us culture that you can be positive and still take all the necessary steps and live a healthy sex life.
Right.
But he basically is like, I don't understand the purpose of him being positive yet.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there has been like a major, thing, but obviously it took Connor like a big growing.
I do remember. It was
to get to that place.
It was necessary for his character to be positive.
Right.
Because we all thought that it would have been Connor who would have been positive opposed to Oliver.
Right. And I think it was just in general, it was a major turning point for Connor as a character. Like, he was such a selfish person general before, and like for him to kind of make that leap to be like, okay, I'm going to like go on this journey with you, and was a major turning point.
Yeah, it was.
He was a total slut. Like, let's be real.
Tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, he banged Oliver's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, he did. I remember off the app. He's such a douche. Like, okay, I'm starting to remember the real Connor. Yeah, bring him back.
Not to say that that's the best Connor that there is, because I don't think that that's the case either. I think that there should be a healthier middle ground. Mm-hmm. Connor shouldn't be just like, let me give up on all my dreams and just drink myself away at strip clubs. But I also don't think he should be like the douchebag that like Grinder apps everybody. So I feel like there's a better middle
happy
ground.
Medium. I agree with you. There really is. But now that Oliver is seen at the end of this chaos, Connor's the only one unaccounted for.
Right. That's what I mean. Connor could be dead.
And Asher. Connor and
Asher, both of which are close enough to Oliver where he would be like super distraught. Not that just seeing a random person. Yeah. Well, Michaela, we know, is not dead because she's at the
no, I'm talking about being distraught over.
Oh, right, yeah. And they're both, I think, close enough. I mean, anybody in the core group would, I think, have the potential to throw people off.
Right.
But we know Laurel and Michaela are safe. We know Oliver's safe. Bonnie is safe. We can assume Annalise is. But you never know.
Oh,
it's craziness.
We haven't seen Annalise either.
And she didn't pick up the phone when Dr. Isaac calls. So, it could, potentials right now, just floating those out there are, I guess it could be Connor, it could be Asher, it could be Tegan. I don't know if that would have the emotional impact. It could be someone huge. Let us not forget what happened last season when they killed off Wes, who was the main character of the kids.
I can't take it again. Is that your prediction? That
I don't want to put that into the universe. I don't. But I feel like it could be. I want to say Tegan because I don't want it to be anyone else. I don't want it to be anybody that we care about.
Nicole asks why Bonnie called Denver at the end, and it's really because Bonnie's actually Julie, and I think Julie was trying to call Dr. Isaac to get a hint on where Annalise was because she's unaccounted for. So my prediction for next week is going to be... I don't know, because I'm all over the place because of this episode. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be another case. You know what? I'm going to make it safe. My prediction is that Annalise is going to make a big, groundbreaking point in the case of her versus Commonwealth. That's going to set something on fire.
Right.
Man, and crazy. You know what? She might take that job at Gold. She might take it despite what, which is why everything blows up. She takes the job and that's how they get caught. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction? Man, that's crazy. It's just insane. I'm going to make a final prediction right now. I think, you know what? I think it is Connor. I'm going to go bold. I think it's Connor. We're seeing a lot of his backstory right now.
And that's why he was depressed.
That's what happened with Wes. We now know his dad. We know this whole, everything's like, setting us up to bring us close, and then it's gonna all blow up. I don't want that. I do not want that, but I feel like that could happen.
That's actually really sad. Oh man! If Connor dies, that's it. I mean,
I'm out.
Like that's literally it.
But yeah, I mean the people they're going all, like full Walking Dead with this and like killing off main characters.
Damn it!
Which is.
I guess we're gonna have to wait until next week.
Totally.
But I'm totally down to still talk about predictions if you guys want. If you guys want to, I guess you can follow me on social media at Hey It's Late. I don't want to leave because this is so good. So follow me on all social platforms at Hey_It's Late. If you have some predictions that I didn't get to, please tweet them to me because I definitely want to get further into this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for everybody who joined the chat. Great predictions. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter. Follow Elayna there. Follow Sterling and April at their various hashtags.
Sterling Cates and April Weisenhat.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that's her Twitter.
And you guys can follow me at Hey John Blake. We will see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have the full panel there to discuss more craziness.
Until next week's crazy episode.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.